Good morning, everyone. It's one of those mornings when you've got everything planned and ready to go, and then you turn on the TV before the show, and the world changed dramatically yesterday, and I'm a little bit concerned with how we're going to move forward. If you haven't seen what's going on in Los Angeles this weekend, um, we've got some serious issues happening. Our federal administration has declared war on the immigrant community in Los Angeles and is threatening to bring federal troops into the streets against American citizens for the first time in its history. We need love. We need love now more than ever. And if you'll join me just momentarily in an opening treatment where we recall that this one power of infinite love flows through each and every one of us, and that through the power of love, each and every one of us can direct spirit to bring common sense and love back to the forefront of our common consciousness, to have wise people step forward and regain control of a situation that has spiraled desperately out of control. We evoke the power of love. We evoke the power of joy and creativity to embrace our communities, to embrace our people, and to remind our uniformed brothers and sisters that it's okay to disobey an illegal order. We bring love. We hold the high watch. And we know common sense prevails. And our brothers and sisters in Los Angeles, in Miami, wherever they happen to be, are safe in their homes, safe in our courts, safe in their places of employment, and free of tyranny of government and of mind. This we recall, and this we release into the universe, knowing Spirit has our back. And so it is.
And so it is. So it is, and so let it be, Reverend Glenn. Thank you for that powerful, powerful prayer treatment.
It ties in with the beginning of my talk this morning because the first three lines are, some stories we hear and we think they are true. Some stories we hear and we hope they are true, and some stories we hear and wish they were false. This is one of those. However, getting onto the subject this morning, I recently saw a YouTube video with a little more positive message, and I want it to be true, and I hope it is true. But even though there is no collaborating evidence, in fact, it is a story that certainly could be true. And it could be true because I know the general nature of the story's three principal characters. We know the late Pope Francis was a relatively decent human being. You could parse the details, but you don't get to be Pope without having some credo. And he was the type of person who might have had a dog in his life. And for purposes of this tale, we can grant the newly named Pope Leo XIV the same grace. So the story says that Tiberius was the dog of Pope Francis, and after his passing would not eat or leave the tomb of the Pope. And hearing of this, Pope Leo had an aide bring the dog to him. Tiberius is reported to have been tentative at first, but quickly accepted the good intentions of Pope Leo and adopted the pontiff with no further hesitation. Now, I know this could be true because I know for certain the nature of Tiberius, a nature shared by every dog, the capacity for unconditional love. Even a vicious dog is acting from love. It's protecting someone or something, putting itself in harm's way, expressing love in the only way it knows. If it weren't for love, it would simply run away. As I said, I want this story to be true because whether you subscribe to the faith or not, being Pope is not an easy job, and no one has more need for a faithful, non-judgmental companion to commiserate with at the end of the day. But let's circle back to that vicious dog for just a moment, the one who is expressing love for someone who may not deserve it. Is it love to be enabling antisocial behaviors? To evoke fear in the name of love? Well, the first century teacher Jesus is reported to have said, "For if ye love them which love you, what reward have ye? Do not even the publicans the same? And if ye salute your brethren only, what do ye more than others? Do not even the publicans so? Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect." Now, in the Bible, the publicans or publicans, depending on where you grew up, I guess, were tax collectors and generally despised by society. It seems some things have not changed over time, but the biblical telling were considered traitors to their own people because they worked for the Roman Empire, which was the occupying power in Israel during that time. Publicans often cheated people by overcharging them and keeping the extra money for themselves. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Because of this, they were viewed as dishonest and untrustworthy. And here the teacher Jesus is admonishing his students to be wary of tempering their love with judgment. It is easy to love those we agree with. It is evident in our contemporary convention of cloistering ourselves in communication bubbles where we only seek information from sources we know reinforce our opinions and only socialize with those who do not challenge our prejudices. No one likes the idea of being cheated, and collaborators are seldom held in high regard. But using this example, and just for the sake of argument, let's zoom out to a broader view and pick this scab apart to see if our righteousness is so easily justified. The Romans, you see, have come to town and they're not going away. They didn't come for the social scene, natural wonders, or healing waters. They came for gold in one form or another, and somebody was going to collect it. Being experienced in this sort of thing, the Romans knew it is better to have their own people headlining social functions and local charities and keeping them at arm's length from the less popular practices by hiring local talent to do their wet work whenever possible. One thing my love for old movies has taught me is that over the centuries, people have not changed all that much. I'm willing to go out on a limb here and speculate that even among the Israelites of the time, there were a few willing to ingratiate themselves to the ruling party and even enrich themselves by association. Again, sounds familiar. These types, frequently compensating for their own low self-esteem, tend generally to consider themselves smarter than those they choose to victimize. So of course they put their thumb on the scale. In their minds, they deserve a little extra taste since their masters are too dumb to notice, and their victims are too scared to complain. And here's the really scary part. They have convinced themselves that by doing their master's bidding, they are protecting their own people from Roman retribution. The publicans see themselves as heroes. When we empathize with them, we can see their point of view. Seeing their point of view softens our judgment, to which Jesus would say, Amen, brother, you have cast the scales from your eyes and begin to understand what I'm trying to preach. This love thing at the spiritual level is not selective. We enter the state of heaven when we forego all judgment and love, as our dogs demonstrate, unconditionally. Some stories we hear and think they are true. Some stories we hear and hope they are true. Some we hear and wish they were false. And never is this more the case than we are hearing the stories we tell ourselves. The publicans either thought the story they told themselves was true, or certainly they hoped it was true. To be sure, they wished to be false the stories others were telling about them in the marketplaces and social houses. How do your stories rank on the think, hope, or wish scale? What have you convinced yourself is true? What do you wish was false? What master are you serving? Are you the hero of your story, or a collaborateur in someone else's expectation of you? Do you love yourself unconditionally? Your dog can do it. Can it be so hard? Can it be so hard to let go those judgments that have ingrained themselves into your self-expectations? Can it be so hard to accept that at some point in life you may have zigged when you might have zagged? Can you be certain the result would be any different? The Romans would still be here, and they still want your gold. Spirit is the power of love. Spirit's love is our love. It's that infinite thing we have spoken of before. Spirit empowers us, each of us, to reimagine ourselves on a whim. Now, most of you know I grew up in Southern California and enjoy a special affinity for all things Disney, and yes, that was a radical gear shift. Spirit allows that. Change your mind, change your thinking. So buckle up. Disney, you see, started as an animator creating images and stories with pencil, paper, and imagination. From the animation, a studio was born where entire worlds could be brought to life through the magic of lumber, plaster, canvas, paint, and film. The studio arts gave birth to a world of theme parks that are at any point in time perfect in every way, yet constantly evolving. The parks employ Imagineers, a special breed of mechanical geniuses whose imaginations are the only limits to what they can create for others to enjoy. In their world of absolutely perfect creation, they never stop creating new attractions, redefining spaces, repurposing materials, and even letting go of ideas whose experiences no longer serve their intended purpose. And their dogs still love them. The people who flock to the parks embrace all the changes with the joy of a puppy greeting its owner at the front door at 2 a.m. in the morning. Yet we are so prone to embed ourselves in a story we created or bought into decades ago and judge ourselves, often when we are the only ones to do so. Social media fans fall victim to the expectations of people they don't even know. Talk about giving it up to the Romans. Spirit does not make things magically appear in our lives. Spirit empowers us to reimagine ourselves and provides the tools to engineer a new experience of ourselves. To maintain our power of thought and freedom to choose those actions and ideas that flow through us as peace and creativity without friction or discomfort. Spirit does not know the story that we want to be true. It knows the story we believe to be true. Be ye therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. Be your own Imagineer. Release your illusionary publican and embrace your internal puppy. Let this be the story we know is true. Thank you for your attention.